once we learn how to tune in with our bodies and the tools that work, it's kind of connecting the dots, figuring out what works best for us so that when we're in those moments, we know how to support ourselves the best that we can.
Welcome to High on Self-Care. I'm your host, Stacey Zeal, yoga teacher, crystal lover, high-functioning stoner, and CEO of MaryZeal.com, a community for stoners who love cannabis and are looking to prioritize their self-care. On this podcast, we'll explore ways that meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and of course, all things weed can help you to elevate your self-care. We'll explore ways to truly value ourselves, use stillness for self-discovery, and cannabis to go higher on our journey. Think of me as your sister stoner who lovingly encourages you to prioritize yourself and reap the benefits of this magical plant. If you're ready to create a life that holds space for your most valuable asset, that's you, by the way, take a deep breath, light your J, and let's dive in. All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of High on Self-Care. I am your host, Stacey Zeal, and as always, I'm excited to bring you another guest episode. Y'all, we are kicking off November with another guest. We're going to talk all about, just some different ways that you can get into the cannabis space if you're looking to get into it, whether you want to have your own products or not. We're going to talk about cannabis guilt, right? Some of that shame that we have and overcoming that kind of stuff. So I'm super, super excited to welcome Alyssa to the show. She is an ambassador of QSciences and is certified in hemp and cannabis fundamentals, y'all. So we're going to talk about the difference for sure. And she just is really passionate about helping others live an elevated life. So welcome to the show, Alyssa. How are you today?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me, Stacey. These conversations truly light me up. So I am just so pumped to dive in.
Yeah, same here. I'm super excited as well. And so I would love to kick off the show with just telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes. Okay. So my name's Alyssa Magulick. I live in sunny San Diego. I have a very interesting work history. I have been in all of the industries. I mean, oh my gosh, I don't even want to go there. We won't, but my favorite by far has been in hemp and cannabis and really just overall plant medicine. I got sick a handful of years ago. I was working in emergency rooms, actually. I was managing 16 freestanding emergency rooms, and my personal life was not great at the time. I was going to do a home where I wasn't feeling fully supported and getting ready to go through a divorce. And it was just awful. I really started to get very, very sick. For anybody who knows me, my mom has epilepsy and she developed it when she was pregnant with my twin brother and I. And I have been fainting since I was about 4 years old. And so as far as medical history goes, it's been up and down. And as I was working in this really intensive job, coming to a home where I wasn't really feeling fully supported, my health took a very bad turn, both physical and mental. And I'm working in the medical field where cannabis is not accepted. And I almost did not have much of a choice. Like, it sounds kind of dramatic, but at this point in my life, it really kind of saved me. It is what kept me eating and sleeping and like a little bit of stress-free that I could manage. Like, these plants were there for me. And I mean, the stigma just from the job that I was working was really, really bad. And honestly, it's not that anybody was putting that on me. It was more internal guilt, which was really hard. And so having to deal with that on top of everything I was managing was really awful. Long story short, I ended up quitting that job, went through divorce a few years later, found myself in San Diego, trying to heal, put my life back together, figure out what I want to do next. I felt like I had the world was my oyster, and I actually decided that I was going to get certified to be a real estate agent. So I'm taking myself to the coffee shop every day. I'm trying to study, and it is like pulling my hair out, pulling teeth. Like, I am just, I'm dying inside, Stacey. You know what I mean? Like, this is not for me. And so at the time I was getting ready to look for the jobs, and my mom was in a really bad car accident. And so I put everything on hold. I went home for about a month, helped take care of my mom. While I was going through all of this, I'm like kind of having like an awakening. And I am just like, it's now or never. Like, you have to put yourself first. Like, you have to do what makes you happy. And like, there's all these things out there that I could be doing that I know I'd be great at, but like, that is not where my heart lies. And like, I just gave my soul at this point. Like, I couldn't do it to her. So it may be a little too woo woo for some, but like, I really mean that.
Oh, we love the woo here. We love the
I'm all about the woo woo. I love it. So it is definitely like my soul was like, it's now or never, sister. So I called the real estate company or whatever. I got my money back. I just told them, I was straight up honest. I said, my mom's in a car accident. Like, I have to go home, take care of her. But to be honest, this is not calling to me. Like, I don't think I can do this. And so got my money back. And I remembered that I had, it was literally like a promo code for an online course for this hemp and cannabis fundamentals course that I took. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. So I put my money into that instead. And it was like, studying for it was so easy. It was so much fun. Like, I could just tell, like, I'm on the right path. I got super lucky. Like, once I got certified in that, I started looking for other jobs. I literally remember I was in Denver one morning, and this was like part of my like spiritual awakening. I'm on the phone with my cousin. We worked out every day via FaceTime. And I was really thinking about getting into like cannabis yoga, cannabis enhanced yoga and stuff like that. And so I'm like, but I cannot stand in front of people and preach this if I am still dealing with that like internal guilt. That's just not going to work. And like my soul, again, Alyssa was like, nice try. We still got some things we got to work on. And I walk outside and I see this billboard, and this on two sides of the street. And one, it's for like Budweiser or something, Coors Light, whatever, drink responsibly. And the other says, no weed on the grass. You're setting a bad example. And I like,
that was
no, that was like, this is a defining moment in my life. I was like, hell to the no. I am not setting a bad example, and I will not stand for that anymore. You know what I mean? And that was like, boom, like Alyssa 12.0 was released. You know what I mean? And it was, I don't know, again, it just kind of launched me into where I am today. But I was able to get hired on with a cannabis delivery company here in California. It was so much fun. I was a virtual bud tender, so it was amazing. Like, we operated with a recreational license, so I was able to help everybody that was looking for like their fun on Friday night. They're going out with their friends. They're going to go see some live music. But then on the other hand, I worked with a lot of terminally ill people and people looking for relief. And so it really just kind of fulfilled me, especially coming from a medical background and, well, all other kinds of backgrounds, but then being able to use some of my personal experience and these plants to help other people was just life-changing for me. I ended up getting laid off from that company right when all of this was kicking off. I went into some of my dark days, so depressed. It was really awful for a month or so. We may need to talk about this another time, but I actually experimented a little bit with mushrooms, and it really I had another spiritual awakening with that, and it kind of helped me step into what I'm doing today. And so at the time, my twin brother also got laid off a week after I did, with 3 beautiful babies at home. And so it was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do to help support our families? So my sister-in-law and I went looking for a company that we could represent for ourselves. And she knew, she was like, look, Alyssa, like, we obviously are passionate about hemp cannabis. She knew that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to those products. So it was like, let's go looking for different brands and products that we can represent. So when you come along once and in my way, we'll take a look. You know what I mean? And some of the ones I was like, no, not with a 10-foot pole, won't touch it. And others was like, okay, I'm kind of curious. But then when she brought this new stuff to me, I was like, I've never seen anything like this. And coming from that previous company, I worked on the wellness side with hemp and CBD, and I also worked on the cannabis side. I'd worked with hundreds of brands at this point, and I was like, I've never seen this stuff, So I'm like, okay, let's talk. And then it was kind of, the more I looked at it, I couldn't take my eyes off it. And so here we are. And that was a year and a half ago now. And my mind is blown. The things like the technology that we've used, the scientists, the naturopaths that we have behind us here, it is just literally mind blowing. These new products we're trying, it's just insane. I can't wait to get your hands on these.
Yeah.
So long story short, here we are.
Yeah. I love that. And some of the things, that you called out that you went through, definitely wanted to just shine some more light on those things. It's like, one of the things that sticks out is you saying that, you had your soul was calling you to something else, right? Like you were feeling that calling of like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. I should be somewhere else. I should be somewhere different. And I want our listeners to pick up on that, because those are the signs, right? That you should be doing something else. Those are the signs that you are called to do something else. So you're getting closer to your purpose, right? Because we always make these actions and make these moves and do different things and try different things. And I'm like, I am famous for trying anything that interests me. I've been a yoga teacher, I've been a makeup artist, I've been all the things. So it's really important to understand that, you may be called to do something, and then you start to get a calling to do something else. And then you start to shift and you want to do something else. And then another thing that you talked about that I wanted to call out was the ease and happiness when you were going into the cannabis industry and when you were taking this test and you were taking this course, right? It's like, follow those signals. To our listeners, for sure, follow those signals, because I find the same thing, right? Like if it's, when I was trying to become a makeup artist and doing that, it felt chaotic. It felt like chaos. It felt like I was trying to make something work and put something together. And I've had, I had some success in that area. I was published in a magazine. I was, all the things, right? Because I'm just dope. I was being called to something else because I just was like, okay, this was fun for a minute, but this was just, and it wasn't, I didn't even say it was that much fun, honestly, but it was like, it was chaotic. And then when I moved into the cannabis space, when I started to realize, okay, I want to start a cannabis farm, I want to do something in the cannabis space, it's changed my life. How can I make that happen? It came with ease, right? And not to say that it doesn't come with hard work, because we know you got to put in the work, you got to do the things, and there's some shit that is just hard, right? But we know we can do hard 100%. Things. But when you're in alignment, even if it's hard, it still has an element of ease to it. It still has an element of happiness and joy that it brings to you from that space. That is amazing. And I love that you are a virtual bartender as well. I was like, oh, they got virtual. California has all the good stuff, y'all. Let me tell you. Virtual bartenders, delivery services. Oh, I love that. I love that. Let's talk a little bit more about this internal guilt, because that was a fundamental piece, it sounds like, for you to have to let go of, to really fully be in the space and fully be present in the space. And you also mentioned that, you had an epiphany around cannabis and overcoming that guilt and stuff like that when we talked before. So what was the epiphany that you had around cannabis, and what was the guilt? Let's start there.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from a young age, we are just taught that it is gateway drug. Like, I remember my DARE officer. You know what I mean?
I remember, oh my gosh, I remember DARE. I remember.
Please, you know what I mean? It's just been drilled into us for so long, especially once you experience the medicine for itself and you have a very powerful personal testimony. It makes it really hard not to call this a medicine, and when Big Pharma is making THC in a lab, it's called Marinol, and they're distributing that like it's hotcakes. It just makes me wonder why this is still not FDA approved. I mean, we're not even going to go into the politics of today, but like it finally became one of those, this is insane. In my opinion, it should be wrong not to have this accessible. It is wrong not to have this accessible to everybody. That's something that really, like, I'm starting to shake thinking about it because it makes me so mad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, again, I have a mom that has epilepsy, and she was given the wrong medicine by more than one pharmacy when I was a kid. Whoopsies, my mistake. Fully human. Of course, people make mistakes. I can't help but think that if this plant were more widely studied and accessible and talked about, and rather than demonized, that maybe my mom could have had a little bit of a healthier lifestyle. And again, for somebody I've been fainting since I was 4. That's incredibly scary. And it can happen at the drop of a hat.
Yeah. My best friend is a fainter. Yeah. She's been since we were kids. Yeah.
It's terrifying to see. And honestly, like, especially when people are close to you, when they see it happen, they never look at you the same. It's very scary for people on the outside, but imagine being trapped in your body and not knowing when it's going to shut down on you.
Yeah, that is very scary.
It's terrifying. Panic attacks, like, you want to talk about those? Like, holy moly. And there are times where I can't even use cannabis because it does drop your blood pressure, and when I get to that point, I'm like, oh, I can't even use my medicine at the time, which kind of brings me to why I'm so excited about the new products that I've got in my hands, because it's just changing the game. Like, I can now safely medicate still with plants while I'm in the middle of something and not worry about fainting even faster because of some
Yeah.
other side effects from a medicine that I'm using. I'm just super passionate about releasing that guilt and like finally letting go of like what society tells us and like doing our own researching and experimenting for ourselves, of course, safely with the consent of your doctor, whoever you consult for your health and wellness needs. But even that, a lot of our doctors aren't even hip to the know when it comes to our endocannabinoid systems and the medicine that's available out there these days. It really came down to, especially working in the medical industry in Colorado while it was being legalized, sitting in round table with medical directors, and not too many of them were big fans of these plants. And I'm sitting there like, this plant's the only thing saving my life right now. Little do you know. That kind of internal guilt. I felt like I was leading a double life. And it was, that's awful too. My soul, like when I say like, I can't do this my soul again, like I mean it, because like Alyssa was not Alyssa. And like, that's just not okay. Nobody should have to live like that. And we need to be having more conversations like this. And again, like one of my best friends, her mom is a doctor, and she had very different views on this stuff. Then she came out here to visit, and I was telling her about my new job. I'm working with this cannabis delivery company. I'm telling her about my personal experience. I'm telling her about the course that I took and how I've been educated on these things. And she literally, like, her eyes opened, and she was like, you're really actually having me look at this a different light. She went home and was able to talk to her hospital and other doctors and say, like, is there something we can look into? I think we need more information here. That gave me goosebumps. That was like, again, that sign that like you're in alignment. Really empowering to have these conversations with people that may otherwise not look at you twice, you know, but again, when you come to them with your own powerful testimony, that's really hard to like argue. So it really does kind of bring a new perspective to everything. But again, we have to be willing to have these conversations. And when there's all that guilt around it, like, I don't know if the old Alyssa would have been able to have these conversations. But like the new one, no, like loud and proud. Like I will absolutely talk to anybody about these plants and my personal experience with them. And not to mention the thousands of people that I've worked with get right in and have testimonies about it as well.
Yeah, that guilt is so interesting to me. And that started to come up this week when we're recording this. I've been talking to people about fear and then also guilt and shame and all of those things. And, you know, for me, I remember when I first started smoking before I got to this, you know, loud and proud stage, because I feel like we all as cannabis consumers, at least, you know, the ones I've come across, there's a journey, right? Especially like when you start, especially if you're not someone who may have started smoking as a kid, right? You know, if you are someone like us who had a reason and was just like, hey, I'm seeking this out as an adult or seeking this out as an older person with my own perspective about it. There was a journey from hush, hiding, you know, just keeping it in my dresser. This is it, to only smoking in my house on my couch, to then being loud and proud years later and having a whole podcast about it and telling, you know, my parents and the whole world that I smoke weed. Right. And so that's a journey. And one of the things that I had to release to get me here was the guilt, because sometimes I do have that guilt of like, oh, am I leaning too much on cannabis? Am I, you know, relying on it too much? Am I smoking too much? Am I consuming too much? Right. Like, you know, so there is this guilt, like, and even, you know, taking it a step further, leaning into the shame kind of perspective and just understanding that feeling shame of like, why can't I fall asleep on my own? Right. Having that shame of just like, I should be able to fall asleep on my own. I should be able to get myself to sleep. Why do I need to rely on this medicine or rely, and not at that time really looking at it as a medicine, right? But why do I need to rely on this other thing, this external force or this external thing to help me to get sleep? And so you got to start to release that kind of stuff, y'all. Like that's the lesson here, is that you have to release it, because in order for me to be at the top of my game, I need to be able to get sleep. In order for me to be at the top of my game, I need to also be stressed, you know, be less stressed. And I have anxiety. My thoughts are always going. I probably have ADHD or ADD or something. And so I need to be able to slow down. So I need to be able to really be in the present moment and really be with myself and really believe in myself. And so that's one of the things that I was kind of taking away from your story with that guilt, is that, you know, you have to kind of just let it go. You have to realize that, like, we've been stigmatized. There's been a lot of stuff around this plant that we, you know, were fed. And where there's a lot of things around a lot of things that we're fed, right? That we have to come across in our society. But, as educated consumers, as people who are just like, hey, I'm going to take a step out of my box and research this plant and actually see, is this something that can help me? So I love that, that came across in your story for sure.
That's true. You just got to let that shit go. It is not serving you. It's not serving anybody around you, and of course, keep medicine in check, what I mean? Have your own personal boundaries with it, but absolutely let it go because it is just not getting you anywhere.
Yeah.
You have
yeah,
to,
for sure.
it's why we're here talking cannabis. You high on self-care. It is self-care. You have to be able to get a good night's sleep. You have to be able to nourish your body. You have to be able to calm your mind and your body, and that's how you can present the world with your best self. So I'm all about it.
Yeah. All about it. All about it. Hey, y'all. I wanted to jump in to tell you about one of my favorite ways to unwind after a long day over here on Team Mary Zeal, other than a joint. After a crazy day, we love to unwind with a yummy cup of hot CBD tea from Twin Flame Tea Company. In fact, when I started on my journey into CBD, this is one of the first products I tried and I love it. Twin Flame Tea Company makes organic, herbal, hand-blended loose leaf tea that contains hemp, so you can get your daily dose of CBD in addition to the relaxation, y'all. My personal favorite is their You Need to Calm Down Chamomile Peppermint Hemp Infused Tea. So head over to maryzeal.com/twinflametea to see all their yummy flavors and get on this CBD train. You mentioned that and when we were talking before, that there are people that you kind of come across that disagree with your cannabis use. So how do you handle that? And taking it a step further, you are in the cannabis industry, right? So you're not just a consumer, you're a businesswoman. So how do you deal with people who disagree and who are opposed to what you have going on?
Beautiful thing about where we live is everybody's allowed their own opinions. And I think now that I am educated in the industry, I am just able to stand so much more in my truth, just from personal experience, that it has just made it so much easier to deal with people with opposite opinions. But again, it's like when you come to the table with your own very powerful medical testimony, it's just really hard to snub your nose with that. So I think if you come to the table in a respectful manner, and here's the thing too, and I want to be very clear, hemp and cannabis are very different in their own way, and cannabis is not for everybody. THC is not for everybody. And I won't say that there aren't potential negative side effects from the plants as well. And, people are on their own personal journeys, and it at least needs to be a conversation that we are willing to have. And that's kind of where I'm at. It's like we can all disagree, but in the long run, stand in your truth, know who you are. And again, now that I'm educated and I know what this is doing for my endocannabinoid system in my body and trying to bring me to homeostasis, perfect balance, like I don't have a choice but to give my body what it needs and wants to a certain degree, of course. And
yeah,
I love all the plants. I'll use all the many tools in my tool belt, not just cannabis.
And that's what it's about. It's about having more tools, right? Like, I don't think that weed is a cure-all, right? I don't think that it's a cure-all. I don't think anything is a cure-all for anything, right? I think that with healing comes having to do the work. In that journey of healing, like, can I use weed to help me along that journey? Can I use it to help me, move past these anxieties that I have that have me paralyzed, right? Or move past, or go into meeting with my therapist and be a little more relaxed and a little more open and a little more in the moment and in the present. Can I use it to help me with my depression that's keeping me kind of stuck in the past, and having cannabis pull me into the present moment and being, and anchoring me then. So I think it's all about, like you said, using what's in your toolkit, understanding what it is, understanding how it affects your endocannabinoid system, understanding the difference between cannabis and hemp, which I would love for you to tell us the difference between cannabis and hemp so that we can understand that as well.
They are sister plants, and they really have a lot of the same components, but it's really the level of CBD within the plants that kind of classifies it, whether it's hemp or cannabis. And so I think the federal regulations like 0.03% or less THC within the hemp for it to be classified as hemp. So yeah, you're basically looking at different cannabinoid levels within the two different plants.
Yeah. That's definitely good to know, because I'm always telling us that we definitely need to continue to educate ourselves. And with, we have Delta 9, Delta 10, Delta 15, all, we have all the things, right? We have cannabinoids.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's a party.
And it's a magically dynamic plant. And I think that's why it can help so many people in different ways, right? Because I could smoke something or I could consume something and be able to sleep, and you could consume that same thing and it can, help with your pain or help you with your, your stress. And like you said, that the endocannabinoid system is looking for homeostasis, right? It's looking to get you in balance. That's one of the other things that I love about it when I started to do more research, is finding out that really the goal is to get you in balance. It's to go. So if I'm, I'm not sleeping, it's going to help me, help me get to that point where I'm sleeping. If I'm having too much pain, it's going to help with that pain sensation so that can balance me out. So could you speak to a little bit more to that homeostasis, and what are some things that we can do to help us get there? Or what are some things we should pay attention to within our bodies that are helping us to get to that homeostasis?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I can definitely speak to this. We already talked about it. I've been a fainter since I was 4. And so it's definitely been, I've tuned into my body pretty well at this point. I was forced to a handful of years ago because I wasn't doing all of these things, which is why my body was so far out of whack. But I mean, it literally came to a point where there was nothing else for me to do but to just sit and breathe and literally just be. And so the very first thing that I will say is, if you are starting to feel like you are out of balance in some way, always come back to your breath. I am a huge fan of meditation. I am on Insight Timer, my favorite meditation app. And some of those guides have sat with me through my darkest days, and I will be forever grateful. So it's when you start to feel kind of out of whack, take a few deep breaths, remind yourself that I always tell myself, I am safe. I am safe in my mind. I am safe in my body. I am safe in my home, wherever I'm at. Okay. And you've got good, you're fully supported in all that you do. And a lot of times, for me, it's my stomach is one of the first things that goes, but it's my mind will be racing too. So it's you have to try and find a balance between physical sensation and that emotional, where your brain is just trying to talk you off a ledge. It's nope, we're gonna keep it cool. But literally the first things I'll do is try and reach for my hemp. I don't even go for cannabis at that point. I stick with hemp just to kind of get my body back in regulation, give my body a little bit of love so that I can get my mind wrapped around the situation and kind of get everything else back in check. But I think for everybody's stress is a little bit different. So it's really about tuning into your body. And anytime, I always recommend, if somebody is using, whether it's hemp or cannabis, and before you dose, if you can have some sort of journal. What are you feeling before you dose your hemp or your cannabis? How are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? What sort of things are on your mind? And then as you're dosing, especially if you're trying to find your optimal dose, mark how much you've used and how you used it. 5 minutes later, how are you feeling? 10 minutes later, how are you feeling? 15 minutes later, how are you feeling? Because everybody's going to respond a little bit differently. And so it's really just kind of collecting a little bit of data. Once we learn how to tune in with our bodies and the tools that work, it's kind of connecting the dots, figuring out what works best for us so that when we're in those moments, we know how to support ourselves the best that we can. And it takes a lot. I feel like that takes a lot of practice too, and it's it can be different every day. The self-care and the things that we need to use for ourselves can kind of differ every day. Hemp, baby, all day, every day.
I love that. And because there's just so many options, y'all. That's what I want people to take away. It's a plant, so it can be so dynamic. And it could think about lavender, right? How many, if you go to Target, lavender is in every damn thing in fucking everything. Target, let me tell you. And so there are candles, there's lotion, there's all types of shit, right? You can get lavender in anything, but nobody has any problems with fucking lavender. Okay. I love lavender, but I have a personal vendetta against lavender because it does give you a psychoactive effect, but nobody is upset about that, right? But people are always upset about weed. So
Seriously.
Yeah. So, but anyway, getting off my soapbox, my like silly little rant. So I just think it's so important, right? Like just to understand the different options that we have as consumers. So now that we've talked about, just some different options that we have as consumers, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about business because, I really believe that there is a lot of money to be made in the cannabis industry. And I want so many women to just get into the space and to really just jump in. And whether you're scared, whether you're on the fence, something like that, I really want you to just figure out what it is that lights you up about and get into the cannabis space. So talk to me about QSciences. Let's start with what it is and why did you join the company?
Oh my gosh. Well, again, I took one look at their hemp, and after working with hundreds of brands, I hadn't seen anything like it, that my nerdy little plant heart was like, I need to know more, and I wanted to know everything. Like I came in hot. I got on the phone with now one of my sweet friends and mentors, but I came in hot asking all the questions just about everything, and not just about the plants and where they're sourced and how they're taken care of and all the things, but really just about making sure that I aligned with the company and their morals, their ethics, integrity, all of it. I'm a very stubborn Taurus. I'm a very stubborn bull, and I will not put my face or name on anything that I do not, like, again, with my soul, agree with. Only took me about a week to kind of dig into some things. And then it was like, oh my gosh, let's do this. What I love about what I do is I do get to help people all over the world. We're in 23 plus countries, plan to be like 60. So this is literally a growing global business. But I get to help people that want to step into plant medicine or just like natural holistic options, and just looking for just overall health and wealth in every sense of the word. But you don't have to be certified in hemp and cannabis fundamentals. You don't have to be diehard passionate about it. I work with people that are doctors and nurses that are looking for a different alternative right now with the atmosphere that we're living in. Chiropractors. I work with my sister and some other family members. Like it's for anybody and everybody. And we just have so much support here that because there was just no way I could do this alone. Like I needed a support system. I needed to know that there were systems in place, people in place to help me, because it was very intimidating at first. Like becoming an entrepreneur and becoming your own business owner can be very freaking scary. I mean, I didn't have much of a choice because I had gotten laid off previously. I'd never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but now I'm like, I can never go back. It is just like, what was that? You know what I mean? Like it was just like the little push my soul needed. It was like, okay, here we go. But again, just seeing the passion and the compassion and again, the integrity behind all of our products here, and then getting my hands on them and being able to speak to them for myself is just an absolute no-brainer. But yeah, it's for everybody. And that's what I love about this.
Give us 2 or 3 of your favorite products that y'all sell. Because essentially like QSciences, so y'all make a variety of different products, right? So it's not a dispensary. Yes. It's not like it's not, like a farm that's growing, actual flower. So talk to us a little bit about that and give us a couple of your favorite products.
Yes. So I call us a hemp and wellness company. We have an incredible hemp line, but that's not even our flagship product. It's what I'm most passionate about, but it's not even what we're known for. But we are known for our innovation. Our doctors and scientists and naturopaths are literally science does not stand still, and so they won't either. So we are constantly looking to improve and look for not the next best thing. It's what do people need when it comes to their health and their wellness? Like what is absolutely essential to them and their bodies, and what is going to help give them their best life so that they can support their families. And it gives me goosebumps to think about. We specialize in brain and mental health. And so one of my favorite products is called our QMax Premium. And it's actually it's just a micronutrient, our brain supplement. But it's literally got 33 third-party clinical studies done on this for everything mental and brain health. And so it just, again, I'm super passionate about it because I have struggled with that my entire life. And this is it's literally, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was 90% of the people taking this reported being happier. Happier. Like that is just something to be said for, because everybody, I think, could use a little bit more happiness, And then it was like 95% are sleeping better. It's like we all need more sleep in our lives, It's just that I just love everything that they stand for and the integrity behind it, and that they will not put something out there that they can't fully like show and know works. That's been a game changer for my overall mental and physical health. Our hemp, of course, because I'm just a plant snob. This was just unreal. And we've actually upgraded it since I joined the company. And so we've gone through a whole like up level of our hemp line, but we literally just launched what are called terpenes. And so anybody in the hemp and cannabis space is probably pretty familiar with that term, but it's in all plants, everything. Terpenes are what give all plants. You were just talking about lavender. It's what gives lavender its scent, its soothing and calming effects, its taste, all of it. And so we've literally used this biosync technology that's in our hemp to basically go into these different plants. Our terpene lines, none of them come from hemp or cannabis, none of them. And so that's what's also really unique and special about this. One, it's available in all markets, because some countries are weird about their hemp, and I get it, and they don't want to outsource, and this gets us into all countries because it's completely legal, because it comes from everyday plants. But we've literally been able to use this biosync technology to like get into those plants and like unlock the goodness within the lavender. And so it's things like linalool and limonene and beta caryophyllene are in these products. And the one that I have the most experience with so far is called Chill. And that is, I mean, it's a whole vibe. It literally like, I am an introvert. Most people have zero idea, but I am an introvert. I am a homebody at heart. To bring out the social butterfly in me is not all that easy. I took some before this and I'm like, oh, we're just having a conversation. This is so much fun. Normally I'd be sweating bullets, ready to pass out and puke everywhere, and like, I feel great. And to be able to use something that, because I do think I love having something like this, because I've worked with so many people that are not comfortable with hemp or cannabis, not even hemp. They are not comfortable using anything. And I understand that. And so I love now having a product, a whole vertical. This is literally, we are the first to market terpenes. First to market. It's like first to market CBD. Like if people can wrap their heads around this, this is going to be $1 billion industry. That is mind blowing. And to think that it's going to take companies years to catch up with our technology at this point, and that is just like, it gives me goosebumps. I just want to spread this as far and wide as I possibly can, because again, for somebody that like panic attacks, like I cannot speak to them enough. They are just horrifying. And I can't tell you how many friends and family and just people I know that deal with these on a regular basis, to have access in their hands on something like this is just, it's going to change the world. It's just, I kind of want to cry thinking about it. I'm not gonna, but it's pretty powerful. And so the opportunity is unreal. And so anybody that's ever been looking to get into plant medicine in any way, or just maybe like dab their toes in entrepreneurship, this, I would love to talk, because this has truly changed my life. The people here are, I mean, just top notch. The community is incredible. So just what I needed this past year with everything that's been going on. That's like what I didn't know I needed from this. I thought I was looking for a hemp line to represent, but like I literally found family that literally they hold you accountable every day, help you better yourself, and like support you through your darkest, which is, I mean, that's invaluable in my opinion. I just can't speak as highly enough about them.
Yeah. I love that. You are, but look, you are their top ambassador, because I'm sure everybody is in here like, well, how can I get into this? So I think that if you are someone out there that's looking to get into the cannabis space, but you're not really sure, you don't want to start your own product line. You don't want to, have a farm. You don't want to go the route of like a podcast or a blog or something. But you really want to figure out what, maybe you can sell different products. Maybe you can, just kind of get into this, attach yourself to QSciences, someone who is leading in the space. It's definitely something that I think, if you're looking to get into the space, you definitely should talk to Alyssa and figure out what you can do to get into it. And I've tried the sleep spray. They have this sleep spray that's like you spray it on your tongue or underneath. I think it was supposed to be underneath your tongue or something like that. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's you spray it underneath your tongue, and it did actually help me sleep, y'all. So I did actually enjoy it. It did help me sleep. So I can definitely personally attest to that, to that product for sure. It was good. So we have talked about so much today, y'all. I hope that y'all have gotten such great information. And I hope that you definitely head over to Mary Zeal's Favorite Things, because you might see the mouth spray on there. Hint, it is on there. So head on over there to Mary Zeal's Favorite Things so you can check that out. We're also going to, in the show notes, we'll have links to Alyssa's website. So please, before we end out, tell us how we can connect with you online and where to find you if we want to get more information.
Yes, I would love to chat with anybody and everybody. I'm on Instagram at Alyssa Magulick. I'm also Alyssa Magulick on Facebook. Yeah, happy to chat. My DMs are always open.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Alyssa, for coming on and talk to us about so many great things. All right, y'all. Well, we have had another fantastic episode here, another guest expert that has come on and dropped some awesome gems on y'all. So I hope that you'll take action. Make sure you head over to maryzeal.com/42 to get the show notes and to get in touch with Alyssa if you want to jump into the industry. So thanks again, Alyssa. We'll catch y'all on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap on another episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you got a nugget of information or inspiration from this episode, here are 5 ways you can support the podcast. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/high-on-self-care to send your token of appreciation. You can shop Mary Zeal's Favorite Things. This is a list of products that we love and have actually tried over at maryzeal.com. And some of these products contain affiliate links that give us a kickback when you shop their site at no cost to you. You can leave us a review on your podcast app of choice. If you're listening on the web, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on the podcast app of choice. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the places. 4th, you can share the podcast with 3 friends that you think will benefit from all the nuggets that we drop. And lastly, you can join my email list to get episodes sent to you weekly and learn about all the fun new things we have coming up on maryzeal.com and the podcast. All the links are in the description. And I will catch you on the next episode.